Welcome, everyone, to the Humor in Chaos podcast. I am Sarah Hauer Nelson, and with me today is my dear friend Lisa Gu, and she's going to be telling us her story. You will be able to find this podcast on YouTube at the Humor in Chaos podcast, also on Apple Podcast and on Podbean podcast. And you can contact me if you have a story you'd like to share, or you know someone who has a story that they would like to share. You can get a hold of me at my email, humorinchaos@gmail.com. So let me introduce you to Lisa. Lisa Gu is a divorce coach, single mom to two sassy little humans, and I love that you say that they're sassy, and the host of the podcast, Untying the Knot with Lisa Gu. With a holistic approach, Lisa helps overwhelmed men and women navigate divorce with ease. She does this. I have actually watched her do this. Using her 6-stage divorce reinvention map, Voyage, I love that name, she's honored to guide and witness her clients turn their biggest setback into their unshakable comeback story. Lisa, I'm so excited to see you. How are you?
Oh, thanks for having me. Oh my goodness. What an honor. And like I shared, this is the first time I'm so used to be in your seat, and it's a new experience for me to be in on the other side. So thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm doing great.
So good, good. So Lisa and I know each other because when we were going through our divorce process, our marriage divorce coach put us together in a small group of amazing women, and we all
Mhm,
got very close to each other. So
mhm.
Lisa, let's start with your background. What would you like to share?
Oh, my background in terms of my life background or professional background or anything.
Anything you want.
Uh, I am Chinese. Actually, I'm saying hello from you from Ontario, Canada. So I moved to Canada, oh my goodness, 15 years ago now. Feels like a long time. With my ex-husband, he's from here. And professionally, I'm trained as a communicator. I went to school to do communications, corporate communications. I've been doing that for more than 10 years as well. And but now I'm in this venture of a divorce coach. I've had a small business before myself, so I'm pretty financial savvy. So that's why I can bring in a holistic approach into my divorce coaching from the legal side, financial side, but also mental well-being, as well as the big part, which is who are we? Who am I? And what the kind of life I want to lead during and post this divorce journey. So yeah, that's me. I am personally into reading nonfiction books. Also, last year I went to Bali for a month to do a solo trip and to get my yoga teaching certification, and I'll be teaching yoga soon as well. So on this journey of really seeking to live a life that align with my soul and heart. And coaching is part of it, yoga is part of it, conversation like this is absolutely part of that.
I loved that you went to Bali. I was following you
Mhm.
closely when you went to Bali because I thought, oh, that is perfect for her. I thought it was just amazing. I was watching your posts about the food you were eating and what you were
I
learning.
know.
Yeah, and it was looking so beautiful. It must have
Yeah, a little
been
bit of, yeah.
it must have been especially calming.
I think it's in life when we live life intentionally and doing things that seems impossible and then turn that into possible. It's a beautiful thing. I don't know. We may talk about it, but I'm a single mom with two kids full time. I have full custody. Just to taking time away while I had a full time job, building a business, have two kids full time. It sounded like a daunting task. It really did. But once I made that decision, because I had this thought for a couple of years that I wanted to do that, I just thought, oh, it's impossible. In my mind, it's impossible. How can I, the job, the kids, the business, and everything. When you set the intention, and then you're determined to go to really fulfill your own dream. And then the rest of it is just taking steps of arrangement, right? Money, kids, and really seeking support from my network, and everybody really showed up and to take care of my kids during that time. Yeah, it's a beautiful, really soul searching journey. Daily meditation, yoga classes, and just in a beautiful backdrop. It's a little bit like my own eat, pray, love, And um, I not sure if, especially as moms, we always feel like we're givers, right? It's very hard for us to take time for ourselves. And it was my 40th birthday gift to myself. So it's highly recommend moms or whoever out there, if you have a dream that you always wanted to do, that just do it. It may not be easy, but what a beautiful way to fulfill a commitment to ourselves and just showing up for ourselves. That's the ultimate definition of self-love, right? And so,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, it is. So tell us about a little bit about how you and I came to meet, a little bit more about that, your background on that. Your divorce journey.
Yeah, I thought about it today. I was like, oh, I hope I don't cry on this in your podcast. But can you believe it was 5 years ago that we met?
No.
Almost 5 years. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I was married for more than 10 years, and my divorce happened when I was almost 5 months pregnant with our second child. It was also during COVID. So in March, the World Health Organization just announced we have a global pandemic. And then my ex-husband, he was not acting normal per se. So I asked what's going on. Eventually he came out and he said, I don't want to be married with you anymore. I'm in love with someone else and I want to out. So it was a complete shock. We've been married for more than 10 years and he has never said once, this is not the life that he wanted. We built this beautiful life together and definitely had some challenges. We had also a small business on the side, but I did not expect that. Shortly after he moved out during a global pandemic, I knew he wouldn't stay. He already made up his mind. But for me, I was completely shocked and my world just felt like it fell apart. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing that all of us in our group shared together, was that all of us had like the floor ripped out from under all of us, shockingly, and we were not seeing that was coming. I mean, I think all of us were that way. We were all like, so we were all living in that shock and crushing moment together. But
Yeah.
you were in let's see, I think by the time you were in the group, you'd had your child, right? Were you still? Yeah,
Yes. So
the baby.
in the next, I would say 2 to 3 years, it was really untangling the legal process and really trying to figure out why he did this. Why did why did my marriage fall apart per se? I thought it was not, I wouldn't say it was perfect, but it was, we were solid. And yeah, how do I go about that? So in the next 2 and 3 years, so he moved out, we started the legal process. We tried mediation first for about a year, didn't go anywhere, and then lawyers got involved. It was a very, very complicated case in the sense that shortly after our daughter was born, so before that, he came to see our son every week, or at least tried to. But 5 months later, after our daughter was born, he said, I just can't do this dad thing anymore. And so he decided to completely not seeing the kids, no contact, and abandon them per se, and me to some degree. That's a shocking news that I didn't see coming, because usually when you divorce, right, like if it's not 50-50, at least there's some kind of time of visitation from other parent, not the main parent, and I was going to support whatever that way is, as we figure that out. So navigating that was really hard while I was pregnant, navigating the divorce, and then had a newborn during COVID. I had my son doing online school, who was only 5.5 at the time. So just all the pieces, and we had a small business together. I was running on the side. I mean, he was involved, but really at this point, he just like, I'm done. And so I was on mat leave. In Canada, you can take up to 18 months mat leave, but my entire mat leave, I was just dealing with the divorce issues. And a very unusual case when one parent decided to have zero involvement with the young kids. So just a lot of moving pieces. What happened was, as anyone who's been through this divorce journey, you can resonate, and how tough it is, and it's overwhelming, it's stressful, and it's hard to make decisions. So as I got out of it a little bit, so we agreed on the separation agreement, it's the lawyer's drafting, and I start to think about what's my next step. And I just reflected, why was it so hard? Because despite of the fact I had professional support, we had a mediator, who was amazing. We didn't reach agreement, but she was amazing. I also had a lawyer. Even when we were mediating, I had a lawyer because I want some legal advice, who was amazing. I had a great therapist, also some business counsel, tax and accountant, because we had a small business site. But unraveling everything, child support, spousal support, asset division, we had a couple investment properties in Canada. When you sell them, you have to pay capital gain tax. And on top of that, the mental well-being side, right? My son had a father who was beside him every single day for 5.5 years, and now this man just disappeared. And now also I have a baby coming in the way. Like, imagine the changes he had to go through. So all this, and I was asking myself, why couldn't I still make decisions very well? Right. And we wasted a lot of time, not wasted, but we burned a lot of cash paying legal fees during the time. And so that's when I started to think, then I took my life coach certification, and I started to think like, oh, what should I be focusing on my coaching? And I realized that how we approach divorce is completely wrong, because we only focus on the legal side, when at the same time we can't make any decision. So I decided, okay, what's the gap? The gap is really look at the whole person holistically and approach it from the legal side, from the mental well-being side, and from, most importantly, the identity side. Who am I? What are my values and missions and vision of life? Because that changes during divorce. And that's my approach. And I decided, the past 3 years has been so painful and so costly on every front, right? Not only money, time, emotions, relationships. And why don't I use my lessons and learning to help people going through this journey with a little bit more peace, a little bit more ease, and sense of knowing who they are. Yeah, and that's my
Yes,
story.
that's what I love about what you did, because you took the pain of what you were going through, and you decided to turn it around and help other people who were in your position, men and women.
Mm-hmm.
And as I
Mm-hmm.
said, I've literally watched you do this. You invited me in on one of them, and I watched you work with this particular client of yours, and it was remarkable. And
Oh, thank you. It's
yeah,
tough. Yeah.
I really appreciated how, instead of just sitting in your pain, you actively, mentally, intentionally turned it around to do something good.
Oh,
So
thank you. Thank you. It's not easy. I'm still feeling very vulnerable, sharing stuff. It's a fine line. And finger pointing is never something I wanted to do. the other party, even though he decided not to be involved, and I still need to be respectful because he has his side of the story. So I'm still in that dance of what the language I use and how I get the message across without pointing fingers, because it's very hard when we sit in that victim seat, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's not the message I want to send. It can be a really empowering journey, not a an easy one by any means, but it can be, you can come out of it stronger for sure. So what I'm saying is that it's still very vulnerable for me to share my own story and sharing the lessons, but I also know that's what connects people, because when they see part of themselves in the story, so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying. Yeah.
No, your role is crucial. Your role is definitely crucial. I
Thank you.
learned that a lot from the small group that we were in, and how we not only we worked to help each other be seen, heard, and understood. But there were also times when we tried to hold each other accountable for when we were sitting in that victim seat, as you aptly stated, because it's very easy to do that, to just sit there. It's very easy for me to do that as well with my health problems. I could
Mhm.
just I could just spend all my time just laying in bed, and I try to balance that, taking care of my body, with also trying to push myself, because I also have to live in the world as well. And so
Mhm.
I can also fall into that. So tell us about tell me about the coaching, how you do that, because you are working with people who are, as you said, in that very vulnerable position, and you're trying to help them to not. No, let me ask it this way. I remember this when you were going through this, and you were doing a really wonderful job of not bad mouthing your ex to your kids, especially to your son. And
Mhm.
you were extraordinarily conscientious of this at the time. I mean, it was remarkable. It was something that I was trying to do, and I was fighting with myself. And my children were adults and are
Yeah.
adults. But it is extremely hard. And I thought you did it tremendously well, with a whole lot of grace. So, can you tell me more about that, and what else you do with your coaching, with your clientele, and how you help them navigate that as well?
Mm, how do I approach this? Well, for the bad mouthing part, right? That's when kids are involved, we should shield them out of this as much as possible. That's the first principle, because our relationship with our ex-partner in our marriage is one relationship, but our role as parents is it's another one. I think that's the hardest part to separate, because there is also love involved. Our love to our ex-husband, even at this point, even he doesn't connect with us in zero contact, there's still love, right? And their love as a parent. So how do I approach that? So for me, I would encourage you to, if you're in this divorce journey, to not say anything bad about your partner in front of your kids.
Which can be.
Why? Yeah, which can be hard, but that's your own work, because it can be really damaging and confusing in an already very confusing and hard situation, because the kids are going through a lot of changes themselves. And even if your ex-partner is not showing up as you expect them to, as a mature adult, you and I know one parent can be the safe place for your kids during this time. And why not bad mouthing your ex is because half your kid's blood is their the other parents, no matter how you look at it, no matter whether you're parenting arrangement is 50-50, 30-70, it doesn't matter. And they're going to hurt when you criticizing their dad or mom, right? It's just that simple. And if you truly wanted to protect your children, it's not only financially and not bad mouthing your ex is a great way to shield them from your conflict with your ex. So that's one thing. My coaching approach, as you mentioned, is I mapped out, I did a lot of interview and research, and yourself included at the time, and really looking at, even though our divorces are all different, but there is a path most people go through in different stages. There are 6 stages.
Yes.
And my approach is at each stage, for example, one stage is stage 2 is up secure. So a lot of people are in the should I stay or should I go stage. It can be really, really, really tough, right? When we're in limbo, not sure, it can drain a lot of our energy. And some people stay in this stage for a long time, and depending on their situation. So, for example, if they come to me in that stage, I will have specific tools or resources, approaches to help them at that stage. But if they're in the 3rd stage, which is they decided to, okay, I'm going forward with the legal process, and then there are different tools and resources. So it's really highly tailored to what they need, the individual need during the time. And that's why it's so impactful. And then how I approach it is, again, as I mentioned, the holistic approach, which is we're going to get to legal from confusion to comprehension. And emotionally, mental well-being wise, a lot of people are so overwhelmed and stressed and anxious. They can't make decision, right? We're getting them into cool and calm and collected so they can make an informed decision, really looking at the facts in front of them rather than making decision from fear, which is super understandable. A lot of fear during divorce. And the last piece is our vision for self, who we are and what kind of life we wanted to lead. For a lot of people, when they come to me, they say, I don't know who I am anymore, right? Without that identity of being someone's partner, wife, or husband, and also the life vision we had with that person. Now it's destroyed. So now we're getting them clear on who they are and the sense of self, as well as the vision they wanted to build by themselves. So yeah, that's my approach. I don't know if I should share this. Maybe if I share the visual, it will be easier. Should I or no?
You can, yep, go ahead.
Okay. It might be easier to just share this one just really quickly. So yeah, here are the 3 aspects. So legal process, confusion to comprehension, mental health. We're moving you from overwhelmed, calm, and then vision for self. It's a lost vision and sense of self. So I don't know who I am anymore. And then to clear vision and renewed sense of self. You're getting clarity. Can you see it clearly?
I can see it very clearly, yes.
Yeah, and I'm just going to show really the journey map really quick. So that's what I mapped out. I can bring this up a little bit. So if we think about our divorce is a really a reinvention, right? From like 1.0 to 2.0 of our new upgrade, just like our phone. So yeah, I have this journey map depending on which stage they are. So I'll guide them accordingly. So we have voice, obscure, yield, the process, adapt, grow, and evolve. And I always tell people we never stop growing and evolving, right? The last 2 stages, we always keep going. And the biggest mistake or secret, I would say, is that how fast and how well you move through this journey has nothing to do with the legal process. Because Sarah, you and I, we've seen people who haven't got that piece of paper yet. They've started to rebuild already, right? Planning for their future and go after their dreams.
Yes.
And there are people who've been through a divorce a decade, 3 decades. They're still finger pointing, complaining about their ex, and they're saying, well, if he or she could do this and show up this way, everything will be good.
Yep. Yep. Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah, and so yeah, my job is really to guide my clients to move through this journey, and ultimately I'm going to stop sharing to um, live a fulfilled life, find themselves again, live a life that they really wanted to lead and become who they couldn't be, right? Some our dreams or projects are sidelined during our marriage, and then pull that into the surface again and live a meaningful, fulfilling life. That's what I'm trying to do.
I love that. I love your voyage program that you have there. It is so well defined. It is so clearly planned. And this is the first time that I have seen your layout of it like that.
All
And
right, you saw a
yes,
draft of it. Yes, yes, yes,
yes.
yes.
And I think it's beautiful. And I think it's exactly what the path that we were on as a small group in a way, but just, slightly different. But the way that you've got that mapped out is just uh it really pulls it all full circle, which we
Mm-hmm.
didn't have as a group. We didn't,
Mm-hmm.
know, as we hit certain stages, even though we're all still in contact with each other and we're all still really good friends, we didn't finish that path together. We all just kind of got to a certain point where we felt comfortable and just kind of started falling off of the purpose of the group of why we came together in the first place. Where you've got it complete. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
I'm
thank you.
saying this is my first time I've seen it. So I think it's a
Yes,
wonderful
thank
program.
you.
Thank
Yeah, and all the program that I have, whether it's group coaching or one-on-one, are aligned with this approach. I have some other tools really checking with people where they are. Um, and one question I usually ask people, which is a great question, I think, is from 1 to 10, one being I'm not sure I should divorce, to 10, I'm absolutely done with it, is really checking in where they are. Because that will really did not determine checking in where you are on that spectrum will let me know, okay, or how ready are you willing to let this go, because that will impact the legal process, right?
Yes.
And if you're on like 3 or 4, you're not going to push this legal process forward, and there will be a lot of resistance, and there needs to be a lot of letting go, which is not easy, and then it will burn you a lot of cash legal fees. I mean, lawyers are $350 an hour to start, right? To $600. So you can burn cash really quickly and still not sure like why it's not moving forward. And then you may even complaining and blaming your ex partner. So, oh, because he's dragging it or something. So it can get really complicated. I think another thing when we go through a divorce, so just noticing our system, if you have a lawyer or mediator and or therapist, what I noticed is that everyone is giving me great advice on their expertise, right? Their great advice. My lawyer would say, "Oh, child support is like this and this, or spousal support is ABC. There is a low amount, middle ground, or high ground, and this is how the court will usually do." Da 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 da. What should I write in the agreement? What should I do proposal, right? Same thing. My therapist will support me on my mental well-being, but then my therapist doesn't really know what's happening in the legal side. So you may have a lot of support, but they all work on silo and you're paying differently. So having a coach can help you really tie it together and holistically. And when we make decisions, sometimes very hard decisions that aligns with who we are, our values, and our vision, not only for now, but also for the future, it can be really powerful and things can be easier, if that makes sense. Not things can be simpler, maybe not easy, but simpler because you can see the big picture. You can see how everything is tied together. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I wish I'd had I wish I had had that on my journey. And I also like how the way that you have it broken down and and the way that you're gauging where people are at on their journey, because the way that you're doing it, instead of just trying to herd everybody through this one funnel of divorce, you're letting everybody walk their path at their own pace. And
Mm-hmm.
you're giving them, because people heal at different speeds within themselves, and then they also have to change their speed sometimes depending on the circumstance, which then you can help them with that. But if they, if they don't have those where they're forced to take a leap, they can do it at their, by saying, okay, so where are you at with being ready for that decision? If they're not ready for it, they're not ready for it. So long as they're not being pushed. Because we also know from experience, as you did and I did, we got pushed into our divorces, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
if somebody is able to take a breath and go, okay, take an evaluation. Where am I really? And get that clarity.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to
And a
give.
lot of, absolutely. A lot of times is that clarity will guide how we divide our assets and how we divide our parenting time. And that clarity is really self-awareness to understand, is it my ego making the decision? Right? That's a lot of times is that there it can be very complicated, but again, having someone to guide you who knows your story, and like you said, sometimes to hold you accountable. It's like, no, 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 it's you who needs to step back and evaluate this. Can be tremendous.
Yes. Yes. I know there were times when you and the other ladies in the group would hold me accountable to something, and I'd be like, at first I wouldn't want to hear it, but then when I would get time alone to myself, I would reflect on it. And you're right, you have to be able to set aside your ego. You might not get it in the moment, but if you can set aside your ego and reflect on that and go, gee, they were right.
Yeah, we all have blind spots, and sometimes this is just having a coach is that person that shine that light and hold a mirror in front of you so you can see. But you yourself have to be willing to see that, and that's the key. So for me, I have a rule. I don't work with what I call them finger pointers. It's always their fault, my kid's fault, or da 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 da, and that's very hard to work with. So you yourself have to be willing to invest in yourself and to take feedback and being willing to and touch some spot or sore spot and be willing to listen to suggestions that may be against what you want to hear.
Which happens a whole lot in divorce.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
if I think the most contentious divorces are because people don't want to hear the reality.
Yeah, yep. And I always ask my clients, and um, here are the facts, right? The reality is in front of you. The question is, are you willing to see it?
That's one of the biggest steps. If once you overcome that hurdle of being open to what's the truth and what is it that I really have to deal with, and that majority of what I have to deal with is actually in here, not out there.
Yeah.
It's inside, not necessarily that other person. Then once you confront that and face that, then things really become clear. And I watched you do that with that client, you know.
Oh, yes. And it's hard when emotions are wrapped around and to really being honest and just challenge them, right? Sometimes it's challenge them, and sometimes it's supporting them, and sometimes it's strategizing. And really, I can't summarize what does a divorce coach do. Um, if you think about um, a symphony, right? So there are different players. I would say a divorce coach for your divorce is uh, the conductor for the song you're playing. You could think that way. What else? Maybe I can give an example and how a coach can help. From the strategy side, it's simple. So a lot of people, I think, when they go through a divorce and because of the scare, they don't know, they go to lawyers, they spend a lot of money at the beginning and not necessary because you need to collect document and ask questions, no, right? So one thing I do is I help my clients to work effectively with their legal counsel, going into the meeting prepared, knowing what questions to ask. Instead of an hour meeting, they might need only 20 minutes. Again, save money. But also sometimes they might find it difficult to understand what the legal counsel are saying. Again, ask the right questions, getting clarity. But sometimes it really depends is how to have a tough conversation with their spouse because the legal side, they might not move forward. And when my client, they have a small business together. So one partner was holding all of the access to their business, right? Website and as well as all of the finances because that person has been taking care of it so that the legal side can't move forward. And there are a lot of damaging behavior. You and I know how detrimental that can be when that person just like approached this with so much anger. And then sometimes it's in this case, the lawyer said, we consult the lawyer. The lawyer said, you can send a demand letter for that person to give you access, right?
Mhm.
Of course you can do that. It's going to cost you a lot of money. That person is going to hate it because now you're sending your lawyer, and or we talked about it, have a heart-to-heart conversation. And actually this client did with their oldest adult child as well. Three of them sat down together, talked about the separation and divorce, and my client showed very clear that this is the route and they would like to approach, and how can we approach it most effectively in an amicable way, right? And I'm here to support, yada, yada, yada. Sometimes it's coaching them to have this tough conversation. So now their spouse is collaborating, cooperating, and they're trying to get the taxes done all together. They haven't done their tax for 4 years. So sometimes things like that happen. And it's going to take them 2 or 3 months, but now they're working together to move this forward. Really, when they have the numbers done, and they can present to the lawyers. And instead of having the lawyers for this 3 months, right, having multiple questions or whatever, and it's a different approach. Just as an example, how a coach can help. So a lot of that, like you said, in the center of my journey map and everything is ourselves.
Yes.
Is ourselves, is you. So all my work is surrounded. How do we enhance our self-awareness and discernment? And it's all about us. So once we letting go of our expectation, which is very hard, depending on how long
Very
you have
hard.
been married, of the other party, and then
Yeah.
you can take your power back and really understanding the only person we can control is ourselves. And you can approach this with a lot of intentionality and grace and effectiveness as well. Once we approach it from a heart place, we are able to have tough conversations like the one I just mentioned, and it will save you time and money and your relationship as well.
And your sanity.
Yeah, and your sanity. Yeah, I have another client as well, and they were going through mediation, right? The other party just was not ready to let it go. And again, this person had a hard conversation. We talked about it, how to approach it. Sometimes a 5-minute conversation is like, hey, Sarah, I know it has been hard. We've been at this for this long. Is there anything you need from me that I can support you with to help you make the decision, right? Something like that. And if it's hard because in your marriage, if you never had this kind of conversation before, it can be really, really hard. So yeah, just to some examples. And then when it comes to child custody in Canada, we call it parenting plan. arrangement, it can be really, 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 really hard. Really, really hard. I think child custody is the hardest. And thank God, Sarah, you didn't have to do that. To some degree, I didn't have to do that either. I was just like left with kids, business, cats, and everything for me to clean. Different challenge. That's the hardest. And I would say to people, and this is a hard one to swallow, is equal doesn't mean fair. So if we're going into this fighting for fair, it's a lose-lose game because the legal system is built to be equal. And fair is a very subjective concept. Is it fair in my situation? This man who I married for 10 years just like disappeared and dumped the kids, everything to me and go pursue a different life. There's no fairness in this. Zero. Yeah. But legally, we still have to divide everything equally, which is 50 to 50%, right? There's
Yep.
no fairness. So the biggest suggestion, actually, I want to make a video about that, is that it's a lose-lose game if you are fighting for fair. So
Yes.
having a coach to guide you would be really helpful when you're getting, again, that's ego, right? And that's, I'm not saying that it's whatever your divorce situation, it is fair. In a lot of cases, it's not. It's usually one party takes more responsibility and there's abandonment, infidelity, different kinds of betrayal involved, right? Why our marriage break down, maybe some challenges of grief, like family passes away or whatever, and someone may be combating depression or addiction. So every case is different. But if you can go in with this mentality, not fighting for fair, it will help you a long way.
This brings me to this next question, which is, so you're dealing with clients who are coming from a great deal of pain and hurt, which you and I understand at our cores, because so were we. But you and I have both come a very long way of healing, even though we both still have vulnerabilities. And there are times too when I talk about it that I also hurt and cry as well. And that's just our realities, you know.
I'm trying really hard to not cry on your podcast. Just so you know, that's why something that I didn't say, because yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
still hurts. 5 years
it's
later, it still hurts.
that
Yeah.
rejection just is real. But you have come a long way in healing, and so have I. Uh, what is your own personal strategy to not allow yourself to go back into that yourself when you're dealing with your clients who are still in there? How do you do that emotional and mental support to them without pulling yourself back into where you were before too far? How do you balance that?
Mm, that's a great question. It's an art that I'm still learning. I'm in this because I deeply care about my clients, however they're working with me. And so for me, and at the beginning, it was really hard because I was really invested and I couldn't sleep, thinking about that and this idea jumping to my mind. What I found for me really helpful is meditation to really calm myself down. And I have sometimes I just, there are things that I do, for example, let the foreign energy go and to recognizing that's not my energy and that's the other person's energy, and could work for your ex as well, really, really well. And then just simply just meditate, close my eyes. Sometimes I do a guided meditation, sometimes just sit down and to really let that energy to ring through me and ask the earth to take it, because our nature is so vast and tolerate and welcoming. And that's something that I'm really conscientious to do, because you can carry that. And ultimately, I think for my clients, and I just this is a heart to heart work, right? And I'm doing this not only for them, but also for their next generation, their kids and their kids and kids, because if we ourselves heal, our future generations will benefit. So to me, that's much bigger than just them. It's the legacy piece. And I think just approach it with a lot of love and humility and humanity. And it's not that I didn't make mistake, because one client, he was totally not ready to hear what I was about to say and how I challenged him. You know, so he was at the early stage, there was a lot of pain, there was children involved, and the other parent just took the children away. And I challenged him, and it backfired. He was not ready to hear that. And I let that go. And then 2 months later, actually, not last month, I was on a call as a participant with a bunch of business owners. So this lady gave some well-meaning suggestion about my business, but it really hurt. It really hurt my ego. And that was not what I needed at the time, because when you, again, start a business, it's also very vulnerable. Anything new, right? It's an identity change.
Yep.
I thought about this client of mine, and I was like, oh my God, what did you do, Lisa? He needed unconditional support and validation and sympathy, not sympathy, empathy at the time, and you didn't give him. And I just felt like, oh my God, how horrible. And this is what I did. And 2 weeks later, he didn't become my client per se. We were talking, I was supporting him. We were in that exploring stage. And I decided to text him. It took me 2 weeks to really own up how inappropriate my approach was. Not inappropriate, how I didn't approach it very well. So I actually texted him. I was like, hey, this happened. This reminded of how I approached this. You know, I owe you an apology. You didn't this at the time. You didn't need this at the time. I hope all is going well. So I'm not even sure why I'm suggesting this. Like, this work is an art more than anything. I'm really good at talking about numbers and strategies and different alternative approaches that can move things forward. Don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
But I think this is a venture that requires ourselves to practice what we preach.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of it, because I am in the work, doing my own work while sharing with my clients. We're in this together. So that's also the beauty of it. And so for me, it's approaching it with a lot of love and understanding and empathy is the way to go. It's like being human,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately.
Yeah, I notice a lot of people have a hard time understanding that when I say that I'm at home working or I'm outside working, that means that I'm reading a ton of books, including my own stuff, but mostly other people's stuff. It means that I'm listening to podcasts and things like that. It means that I'm studying up on more people skill stuff constantly. It means I'm also, where you talked about nature, I walk. I go out and walk. And I'll listen to a podcast on my walk, but then I'll go find a beautiful spot and I'll shut it all off. And I'll just sit there in quiet and I'll just let my mind either go blank or wander. And then when I get back on my walk, I'll be looking at people, smiling, attempting to make some sort of connection. And I also try to get out in public and physically talk to people and practice my listening skills. I mean, you said it. We have to be, that is my work. It isn't just
Mhm.
sitting down and talking one-on-one with a particular client. It isn't just doing this podcast. It isn't just writing my blogs. The vast majority of my work, nobody knows that I'm working.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you bring a great point, Sarah. This is something that I encourage my clients to do, even though during divorce can be really hard, is have your own ritual and routine. Because when everything is changing around us, literally everything, right? Like where we live and we don't have this person anymore, our parenting is changing, finances are changing. The key is to bring stability into our life where we have control. And
Yes.
you may feel everything is out of control at this time, which to some degree is absolutely true, especially if you have a high conflict ex-partner, very, very hard, who is doing a lot of detrimental behaviors, not only to you, but potentially impacting the kids, if you have kids, is to bringing stability ourselves. And the best way to do that, and simplest way to do that, is have our own routine. It could be take a walk, 10 minutes walk at lunch hour. It could be as simple as that, because when we have that, we know this thing is not going to change. I have control over. It can be really powerful. And also it's again ourselves fulfilling the commitment to me. It may be something really small, and for someone it's like, okay, I'm still going to go to gym every day for 30 minutes or an hour, or I love cooking, I'm still going to cook my meals, right? Fulfilling that commitment is very important for me. Another thing is that I have a very consistent morning ritual to start my day. And what's the saying, that rich people can afford a slow morning, and I'm trying to be a rich people, is so I wake up, I make sure I have at least an hour time with myself, even though I have two young kids. So
Mhm.
I would do a 20 to 30 minutes meditation to really calm myself down and bring some intention to this day. I would draw, what do you call that, a tarot card to say, okay, what do I need to be reminded today? I would journal a bit, and then I would move my body, do 10, 20 minutes yoga. And sometimes it's just 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. And then I would read a bit, so that if anything changes, you have that protected to be yours. It's so very important. I still need to work on my bedtime routine better, because sometimes I work too late, or with kids or whatever, but have something you feel like you can control over, even something really small. If you like, go swimming or hiking or cooking, what else? Crocheting or knitting, whatever that is, make sure you have some piece of consistency in your life. It is very important during any times of change.
Yes, and you mentioned journaling just very briefly. So I heavily push for journaling. I still journal. I have tons of filled journals that I have kept. And I know some people keep journals and some people throw journals, but most of the time I run into people who are like, I don't like to write. So, but you journal. How important has that been for you?
Yeah, journaling. And some people say I'm not a writer. You don't have to be a writer. And sometimes my journal is 1 or 2 sentences in the morning. If I really feel questioning myself, right, I would say, no, you got this, or something similar like that. You pump yourself up. And sometimes it's long. I might be reflecting an event. And for me, when you go through a change, whether it's divorce or something else, it's really self-inquiry is an important part, to have self-awareness and then change.
Mhm.
Meaningful change happens from that. So sometimes I ask myself questions in this journal, should I stay or should I go? Maybe that's a big one. Or how are you feeling? Why are you feeling this way? And it's almost a way for me to coach myself through this. So
Yeah.
so that's a tool that I find really helpful. And sometimes you have so much anger, you just like, how could he do this? And 5 years later, he's still like da 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 da. You can just dump it. Nobody is judging you. Owning yourself. That's the hardest critique we have in our head, is right. And
Yep.
and sometimes, so I have me, and this might be a little bit too much. So I have my inner child, right? Who is the 7 years old me, right? I will
Mhm.
check in with her, because a lot of times our current pain is coming from that time, that trauma, right? We got touched it a little bit. It's like, hey, how is she doing? What does she need? Why is she scared? I might converse with her in my journal.
Yes.
First meditation and then journal. That's just me. So that's another way. And then I check in with my older, wiser, higher self, who is 90-year-old Lisa, right? So if I'm in a predicament right at this point, let's say, oh, should I pursue spousal support or should I let that go? Should my spousal support be a lump sum payment or should I keep it open? Let's just say this is right. My lawyer gave me suggestions, but then it's like, oh, you still can't make decision. I will check in with the 90-year-old Lisa because why? She knows the result because she's been through it, right? And
Yep.
she knows what happened. So to check in with her, I was like, oh, maybe have a conversation with her to check in and then be like, oh, what's important to me? Does it really matter? Then have you considered tax implication in Canada as spousal support is taxable? So as a part of your income or whatever wisdom she will share with me, I might check in with her. And then I was like, oh, she said this, I'll write it down. And then, so yeah, that's just some interesting ways that I would use journal. It's definitely an important part of my healing journey, I would say. I don't usually read back. Who knows? When I'm retired, when I'm 80, I might read every single page. So, so I would say journaling is a really great way to tap into your inner self and inner awareness by asking some questions.
That's beautiful. I have one last question.
Okay.
So you made it to Bali, which was
Yes.
something you really wanted to do. And as I already said, I followed you while you were there. You looked so peaceful and like you just really felt like you were in your element. So here's my question. If you can tap into the you, as you just said, you would tap into your 7-year-old you or your, older aged you. If you could tap into you when you were at a moment of peace in Bali, and you there could reach back to you early on in your divorce journey when you were really in a lot of pain and confusion and COVID was happening, what would you say to yourself?
Mm. I would say all this predicament and this pain and this overwhelm, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. We're not here to marry. We're not here to have children. We're not here to work. We're here to fulfill our deepest meaning and purpose. And what that is to be discovered or continue to be discovered, the meaning of life. And maybe I'm getting a little bit of ooh here. Really, whatever is happening here doesn't matter. It's not a big F deal. It's not. It may feel like now this way, but it really isn't. And all of the power is within me, all of the wisdom and power and everything, love is within me. And my job in this life is to tap into that and make that something meaningful for me and for whoever that get in touch with me. So for me, 2 years after my divorce, I went to a yoga retreat per se with the same teacher that I went to Bali to see. And what came out at the end of the retreat was a big, big statement. It says, we call it my dharma, my gold. So my life's purpose is create a world of clarity and purpose by transforming. Okay. At the time when this statement came out, I was like sitting, I was like, can I curse? I was like, WTF? Like I myself are in this like big muddy hole of divorce. I have no idea. I have no clarity. I don't know my purpose and what transformation. And that's my dharma. That's my purpose. It just felt like, what the heck? Like it was very overwhelming. But as I continue to explore, whether it's getting into the coaching program and then doing more meditation or yoga retreats. I mean, again, yours journey doesn't have to look this way, whatever your journey is, whether it's spirituality or sports, whatever, it became more and more clear to me. It's like, oh my God, that is why I'm here. So I'm here on a mission to help others gain clarity and know what their purpose are, and through transformation. And divorce is one of the biggest transformation, probably the hardest transformation we're going through. So yes, if I had the wisdom of what I had in Bali, telling the Lisa that when I met with you, I would just say, yeah, it doesn't matter. It all doesn't matter. Everything you need is within you. You just need to let that come out. And that's what I'm trying to do now.
That is so beautiful. That's beautiful. It's the best place to end. You just gave people hope. And hopefully the ones that are supposed to come to you with divorce coaching come to you. Because I'm not a divorce coach. I'm a resilience coach. So
Oh,
anybody who wants divorce coaching, I'd send them to you. Well,
Yeah, I
thank
mean,
you.
in divorce, if you want to go through this transformation, um, divorce reinvention smoothly and successfully, resilience is a huge piece of it. It
Yes.
really is, because it's not easy. Any transformation is not easy.
And yes, this is so true. So true. As
Mhm.
you and I both know from personal experience. Lisa, thank you so much for today. That was
Oh,
so
thank
wonderful.
you.
You had a lot of wisdom that you shared in this time.
Oh,
What has it been? Almost an hour? I don't even know. I haven't even been looking. It doesn't even say. It'll say when I quit the recording. But thank you so much. I know people are going to get a lot out of this. Thank
oh,
you.
thank you for having me and for asking great questions. Thank you so much. And I'm so honored to be on your show and to have opportunities. And who would have thought? I know 5 years ago we could not see this coming. So,
Not
and you're
possible.
definitely, yeah, in the last two stage, grow and evolve, right? Because when you're evolving, you want to share your lessons, you want to help others, and that's your purpose and
Yes.
meaning. So, yeah.
Yes. Yes. You nailed it. That's exactly what I wanted to do. So thank you everyone for joining us. As I said, this is Sarah Hauer Nelson with Lisa Gu on the Humor in Chaos podcast. And as I already mentioned, if you or somebody you know has a great story to share of how you've overcome, found joy again after or during hard times, let me know. humorinchaos@gmail.com, not .org, .com. And again, thank you all.